Back in the late 19th century, one man basically took over the single most important industry on the entire planet: oil. I mean, think about it. Railroads, factories, even the lamps lighting up people's homes, everything depended on it. And that man was John D. Rockefeller. His story is just an incredible masterclass in how to build an empire. So let's get into it. If you want to really wrap your head around the scale of what he built, all you need is this one number: 90%. At its absolute peak, Rockefeller's company, Standard Oil, controlled a staggering 90% of all oil refining in the United States. It was an empire like nothing the world had ever seen before. So the big question is, how? How did one guy manage to corner the market on the world's most vital resource? How did he build the most powerful monopoly in all of history? Well, the answer doesn't start with money. It starts with an obsession. Yes, see, Rockefeller wasn't born into some powerful, wealthy family. He actually grew up pretty modestly. But from a really young age, he had this almost unnatural fascination with numbers, with discipline, and just the way business worked. He got his first job when he was just 16 years old as a bookkeeper. And get this, he kept this tiny little book where he accounted for every single penny he ever earned and spent. That meticulous, super disciplined mindset, that became the bedrock for everything he would build later. Then, in 1859, boom, opportunity knocks. Oil is discovered in Pennsylvania, and it kicks off this chaotic, Wild West-style rush. Hundreds of companies jump in, prices were all over the place, and honestly, most of them went bankrupt. But while everyone else was frantically trying to drill for oil, Rockefeller saw something different. He realized the real power was in refining it. So, in 1870, he founded Standard Oil to bring some order to all that chaos. And his strategy for dominating this brand new industry? Oh, it was brutally simple, but it was also devastatingly effective. This was a masterclass in corporate warfare. His plan basically rested on three pillars. First, he'd go to his competitors and just make them an offer to buy them out. He'd literally show them his books, prove how efficient he was, and give them a choice. You can join me and get a nice payout in Standard Oil stock, or you can try to compete with me and, well, face the consequences. And for anyone who refused his offer, the consequences were, let's just say, severe. Rockefeller would unleash a price war. See, Standard Oil was so huge and so efficient, it could afford to slash prices and sell its kerosene at a loss in one area just to bleed its smaller rival dry. Unable to keep up, they'd eventually have no choice but to sell out for pennies on the dollar. But his most powerful weapon, his secret sauce, was step 3, secret deals with the railroads. He'd go to them and guarantee these massive, consistent shipments of oil. In return, the railroads gave him huge secret discounts called rebates. This meant his cost to transport oil was way lower than anyone else's. It was an unbeatable advantage. His rivals were pretty much doomed from the start. So, using this three-pronged attack, Rockefeller's Standard Oil became this unstoppable force. Seriously, it wasn't just a company anymore. It was an empire that controlled the entire industry, from the moment oil came out of the ground to the lamp in your living room. And by the 1880s, his vision was complete. Standard Oil controlled the pipelines, the transport, the distribution, and a mind-blowing 90% of all oil refining in America. It was a near-total monopoly. Now, with that kind of power, of course, came unimaginable wealth. At the time of his death, John D. Rockefeller was the richest person in modern history. If you adjust for today's inflation, his fortune is estimated to be worth around 400 times billion dollars. That's more than any tech billionaire alive today. But having that level of dominance came with a price. The public started to get really angry about the crushing power of monopolies like Standard Oil. People stopped seeing Rockefeller as a captain of industry and started seeing him as a robber baron. And eventually, the United States government decided it had to step in. The battle was long, and it was fierce. It all started in 1890 with the Sherman Antitrust Act, which was a law designed specifically to break up monopolies. After years of legal fights, a court finally ordered Standard Oil to be dissolved in 1909. Rockefeller appealed, of course, but in 1911, the Supreme Court delivered the final blow. They upheld the decision. The empire was going to be shattered into 34 different companies. But here's the wild part. Breaking up his company didn't destroy him. Ironically, it made him even richer. As the main shareholder,
Rockefeller now owned big chunks of all 34 of these new independent companies. And as they started competing with each other, their total value shot through the roof, and so did his personal fortune.
So, what do we make of this man and his empire? It's tough. He was both a visionary who basically invented the modern corporation, and at the same time, he was a ruthless monopolist who crushed anyone who got in his way. His legacy is, well, it's complicated. And that legacy is absolutely still with us today. A lot of those 34 baby standards, as they were called, grew into giants themselves. Companies you've definitely heard of, like ExxonMobil and Chevron, they are direct descendants of the empire that Rockefeller built more than a century ago. Ultimately, Rockefeller perfected the model for corporate dominance, but his own success forced America to deal with the dangers of that power. He created the very debate we're still having today between free market capitalism and government regulation when we talk about big tech or other giant industries. And that leaves us with the exact same question that was echoing through the halls of Congress back in 1911. It's the ultimate question Rockefeller's story makes us ask, and it's probably more relevant now than ever. How much power is just too much for a single company to have,